The second leading scorer in the Big East, Bryce Cotton, has upped his game in the last 2 weeks for the Providence Friars, who this Saturday afternoon take on the DePaul Blue Demons at 10 and 15 from Providence, Rhode Island. Back to the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Little Rhodey, DePaul and Providence for the second time this season. For the Blue Demons, Cleveland Melvin is no longer with the team. He's no longer enrolled at school, so he's out of the lineup. Brandon Young takes over the reins as the leading scorer, 15 a game, 10th in the Big East. And as for Providence, the starting lineup that you would expect for Ed Cooley, a lineup that has really remained unchanged this season. Bryce Cotton, Josh Fortune in the backcourt, then Henson and Harris and Bats, the front court guys. And boy, this starting lineup catches just about all of the minutes this year for Ed Cooley.
Absolutely, and this building is electric today, Jason, because these Friar fans can sense an NCAA tournament berth on the line, and today's going to be the first step towards that down the stretch.
Providence 16 and 9, an RPI in the mid-50s. Gotta have this one today if you're Ed Cooley and PC. Here's Billy Garrett, the freshman. Off the bounce feed to Tommy Hamilton Jr., and the freshman misses the long triple. Just his 42nd free try all year. He's a guy that does face up a little bit, but they're better when he's near the basket. Absolutely, and you got to watch taking jumpers early on the road here at the dunk. The Friars like to run at home. DePaul has struggled offensively at points, 71 points a game this year, 8th in the Big East. But Billy Garrett Jr., one of the best freshmen in the conference. Here is Garrett to tee up a three. Offensive rebound for Sandy Marchuch, and he has the first bucket.
Something you do not see often. Kadeem Bats getting beat out for an offensive rebound by the opponent.
7.5 boards a game for him, 4th best in the conference. Bats on the kick out to Josh Fortune for three.
Fortune more so than any other PC guard. So important, his start to the games. Ed Cooley and the staff always say Fortune needs to get one to go down early to be a factor sometimes.
He's one of those other guys in the field that can really help Cotton, can't he?
Absolutely. Because the defenders are going to gear towards Cotton, not just because he's a catch-and-shoot guy. He likes to pick and roll.
DePaul gets a 2 from Brandon Young, the senior from Baltimore, who was paired with Cleveland Melvin to average about 32 points a game, but Melvin no longer enrolled in school. Dante Henson buries a three, and the Friars are 2 for 2 from three-point range early on.
And always the next factor for this ball club when they're playing well. Fortune's holding his leg there.
3 on 2. Tyler Harris falling into the lane for 2.
This team will run at a different level at home. Ed Cooley put it on this three-quarter full-court press, and Harris so effective in transition.
Normally you see that type of play from an Oliver Purnell team, but they're doing it less this year with DePaul.
Yeah, he's had depth issues at some points throughout the year, especially conference play.
Hamilton and Bats hand fighting. Nearly got a 5-second call and a whistle on the DePaul side. Boy, the Friars are lighting it up early from distance.
If you're Ed Cooley, you're happy because you have back-to-back trays, Jason, and the guy's name is not Bryce Cotton. Henton, Fortune, when you can get those secondary perimeter threats going, changes the whole complexity of the Friars offense.
So they've got 8 points, none from Cotton. Big news for the Friars.
Yeah, you don't see that often with this ball club, and Bryce is durable for sure. He never stops moving. It's going to be a loose ball foul. You see they are shadowing Cotton every step he takes.
Boy, he stopped moving there because R.J. Currington grabbed onto him. Here's Oliver Purnell in his 4th year. 40 up, 79 down. This is a team that is 9 and 93 in the Big East the last 6 years. Carson DeRozier has checked in, the Wake Forest transfer, who's the 6th man for the Friars. Cotton the floater.
It's where he's changed his game on a national level those last 2 years. When you're up on him like glue and you take away his catch and shoot, how dynamic he is off the bounce.
Up from 19.5 as a junior, 14 points a game as a sophomore. Hamilton lost control. Fortune ahead of the pack and got the roll. Josh Fortune. Timeout DePaul.
As Oliver Purnell knows, we chatted with him just about an hour ago before the tip. He knows this team runs at a different level in transition. And it's not just Bryce Cotton today, it's his teammates, but Cotton will always lead the way for the Friars.
Third year at Providence for Ed Cooley, who stressed this morning, Ben, the attitude is key for his team, and they're getting out and running early.
I love that team meeting he spoke with us about. He made every single Providence player write down on a piece of paper, my attitude affects my attitude. And think about how simple that is, but that's all he wanted his guys thinking about today is their mindset in this first half.
Harris, the strong defense, and one and done for the Blue Demons. We've seen that attitude early on. Providence seems to be taking it to DePaul.
By the way, I wrote that slogan down for our broadcast here, but I can't find that piece of paper, by the way.
Yeah, I erased it. I just feel like my attitude is perfect today, so I don't need your motivational tactics, Parisi.
Not with this crowd here today.
Carson DeRozier, the slam. It's a 9-0 run.
It's not just the perimeter players for the Friars. Now the post players getting in on the action. Great slip off that high ball screen.
5 straight field goals for the Friars. Their largest lead at 10. So with Cleveland Melvin out, where does DePaul turn for points, do you think?
I think it's got to be guys other than Garrett, and they may have to manufacture some points today off turnovers.
Bryce Cotton again changing direction in midair.
Hey, Bryce Cotton looking more than just an all-conference player right now. He looks like he's in that early season form when he's playing like an All-American, doing it all here this afternoon.
It's amazing that somebody who scored 20 points a game last year could change his game again this offseason.
Be a facilitator, make his teammates better, lead the league in assists for a big portion of it. Well, last year he was the Big East scoring champ, and this year he's been dishing out the assists. Bryce Cotton does it all for Ed Cooley and the Friars. And Steve Lavin's team's the hottest team in the league, so they're really going to have to keep up with those other teams on their tail.
Well, Lav said, he said, we're going to play in February. We're going to be ready to go in February, and he was right, wasn't he?
Oh, listen, you want your team playing well, you'd rather the last 4 weeks than the first 4 weeks, but a lot has to be determined there, especially those 4th and 5th seeds before New York City in the conference tournament.
Schedule has a lot to do with it, too.
Oh, yeah. Team, well, you look at Providence, they had a lot of games at the dunk early. Tough to win on the road in this league.
Josh Fortune buries a long 3. He has 8.
Hey, he is shooting with so much confidence right now. DePaul needs to get up into Fortune, make him put the ball on the deck, make him take tough twos.
Tough to do when you have Bryce Cotton to worry about on the other side, though.
No question.
A long jumper to respond for Brandon Young, who has 5 of DePaul's 7. Blue Demons were scoreless for 4.5 minutes.
For as well as Young has played, not known as a three-point threat, only 26% from deep.
Oh, Cotton, feathery touch off the window.
When you think about it, we're 7 minutes into this basketball game. We've seen Cotton score about 5 different ways. I want to talk about versatility.
And he's helped out his teammates, too. People forget he's #1 in the Big East in assists per game. Strong drive, blocked away by DeRozier. Cotton distributing for 2.
Is that highlight reel or what? Cotton's been the scoring point guard of the Big East this past year and a half. That time getting an assist in transition. A jumper by the big fella, something you don't see as often.
How about Ed Cooley, happy with the attitude? He could smile a little bit early on.
Little flip back there to DeRozier, who's known as a post presence and shot blocker, but the Friars just on all cylinders offensively right now, both in the half court and in transition.
This is right around, when you say the toughest time to get your team to have fun, this time of year it starts to become a grind.
It's a grind. It's a stressful time of the year. People in the media talking about the bubble.
10 to shoot for Garrett. On the fade, got the bounce. Billy Garrett, his first bucket. You know, he didn't play in the first meeting against Providence. And if it keeps going like this, they're going to need a lot from Billy Garrett. 10 straight makes for the Friars.
Yeah, DePaul's going to have to stop the bleeding here. Try to dig in, hold him to one and done, get a good defensive stop.
There it is. Stolen away by the sophomore Darrell McDonald, who's got an easy bucket.
Oliver Pennell urging on his defense. You're down big early on the road in this league. You cannot try to get it back all at once.
First miss and 11 shots for the Friars, and Marchuch the rebound there. They forced him to go to his left. He still found a way to go right and missed the shot. Young closed off by Fortune. Garrett has the speed on Kofani. Marchuch off the juggle will go to the free throw line. 8 for Josh Fortune, but Bryce Cotton has done everything. 6 points, couple of assists. The Friars leading by a dozen.
Big on the road and feel you got to get it back with the three-point shot. You can tell Oliver Purnell's been making that a point to his ball club.
Blue Demons just 1 hit from three-point range so far this afternoon. Friars 6-6 in the Big East with an RPI in the mid-50s, hoping to build their tournament resume in this final 6-game stretch. Tipped on a bounce. Hamilton tried to bring his hand back, and it did go off of the freshman. 8.5 points a game, 5 rebounds a game for Tommy Hamilton. Here's a guy who, when he fills out, is going to be pretty strong for DePaul, don't you think?
Yeah, one of those good freshmen that Purnell has in the program. 6 times DePaul's won Big East Rookie of the Week.
Here's a trap. Cotton had 2 guys in the area, and it ends up with DeRozier.
You want to hit ahead. That gets you in trouble when you go backwards. Thought DeRozier had Josh Fortune ahead of the field.
When you say hit ahead, you mean advance, right?
Exactly. See, right there, Fortune, the left part of the screen, was looking for a breakaway. DeRozier looking for Cotton in the backcourt.
It's the second Friar turnover, an average of 12 a game. Jumper too short for McKinney. Henton on the lead-in.
Again, this has been a theme here this first half. The Friars have been stellar in transition.
They got bogged down offensively in a couple of games. Only scored in the 50s in a few losses. Xavier and Marquette. And a foul called on Young. DeRozier trying to set a screen, and Young called for the foul.
Look at this off the defensive rebound. Cotton goes in, grabs it, and that's picture-perfect transition basketball, Jason, because he pitches it up the sidelines. So many guards stay on the bounce and dribble it too much. He sees Henton running hard. He rewards him. Terrific finish by Henton at the end.
Gives you a chance to spread the floor, right? Like 4-on-4 Olympic hockey overtime.
No question.
Good work by your long-lost cousin, Zach Parisi, and the Americans this morning against Russia. No relation, right?
No relation.
Cotton dips in, just blows on by.
Sometimes in terms of complimentary tickets, I wish. But that is a no.
You're saying you would have ditched me today to go to Sochi and watch the Olympic hockey?
No. Too much of a hoops fan.
Wouldn't trade this for anything. Providence doubling the Blue Demons early on. Garrett off the bounce. Beautiful feed down low. And here come the Friars the other way. Cotton ended up triple teamed. Young, a no-look pass, and you can see the frustration of Garrett there as Young picks himself up.
Let's go back to this because Providence runs at a different level fast break-wise at the dunk rather than on the road, and that's just smart basketball, seeing the guy in the lane, pitching it ahead, not staying on the dribble, and then how Bryce Cotton there going to his weak side.
You say that almost like it's not 94 feet on the road. Why is that? Why are they so different in this building?
I think it's just a mindset for college kids in general. You have your crowd behind you, the energy of the home fans. Guys just have a pep in their step.
Like Kadeem Batts, 2 and a foul for the senior big man.
We talked about this at the top. This has been Ed Cooley's theme here as the Friars have struggled recently. Bryce Cotton went for 31 points on the road at Georgetown. Just not enough guys, not enough teammates in the scoring column themselves. And Kadeem Batts, one of those guys that could bring it in conference play.
He has 5 today. Henton with 6. Fortune has 8. Nice balanced scoring for the Friars.
Or whether it's the offensive boards, you're just sealing there. Ed Cooley worked on that set today in the shoot-around. You have Cotton turn the corner but not go all the way in, and have Batts flash to the opposite block.
Sandy Marchuk on the step through, and he is fouled. Lee Goldsboro has checked into the game, the senior from England. Foul on Batts, his first. Well, if Providence maintains this lead, this could be an opportunity for Ed Cooley to shrink those minutes for his starters, at least a little bit. I mean, he's only got 10 guys that he can send out on the floor.
And the season is it's never too late to keep developing guys and keep working on different combinations. He's got guys like Bryce Kofani on the bench, guys that do not get super minutes, but as you mentioned, you never know in the future when you're going to get into foul trouble. Maybe they need to go with an obscure rotation one day in the Big East tournament in New York. So now that being said, head coaches are never able to rest until that final buzzer goes off.
We were talking about your dance moves earlier. They used to refer to it as an obscure rotation. Marchuk, 2 for 2.
There's some pressure.
He's down to 4.5 for the first half. Providence trying to pick up win number 17 on the year. Henton, open 3. Boy, Villanova hit 15 threes against DePaul on Wednesday, and a lot of them were clean looks.
This team can do no wrong offensively, whether it's in the half court or transition. They are on pace to put up big numbers here this afternoon.
And Jamie Crockett into the ball game for the Blue Demons for the first time.
What this guy's doing for 6'9".
Tyler Harris got his own rebound and goes right back up. He got raked on the iron. Providence on pace for close to 100. The Friars have uncorked the scoring for Ed Cooley this weekend.
Providence all over DePaul here in Friartown at the Duncan. Speaking of Providence, these are the 3 things that I think the Friars need to accomplish if they want to be have their name called on Selection Sunday. First off, you got to take care of today. You cannot lose to DePaul at home and think you're going to have a chance to dance. Number two, you got to win a payback game. You cannot get swept here. Only 6 games left if you want to dance. And finally, and we've seen it this afternoon, tenfold support for Bryce Cotton. Those secondary guys offensively coming through for the Friars.
Right now they're 16-9 overall, 6-6 in the conference. They're not a terribly deep team, but if you get scoring like this, right, you can make this a tournament team. You can figure it out and win 4 of 6, 5 of 6 down the stretch before going to the Big East tournament, which we'll have here on Fox.
No question, and because unless you have just a special talent like McDermott at Creighton, for example, that's what Villanova's doing right now. Jay Wright's getting those multiple contributions. That's why St. John's is the hottest team in the league, because now it's not just 1 or 2 guys playing well for Steve Lavin. St. John's has 4 to 5 playing well each and every night.
Well, you mentioned Villanova. The Friars have Nova coming in here on Tuesday night on very short rest, too. The Wildcats take on Creighton tomorrow on Fox Sports 1. Tough catch for Marchuch, and he's got the bucket and the foul. Got bumped by Goldsboro. Nice first half for Sandy Marchuch.
Hey, I'll tell you, he's done a good job establishing position early there as Ed Cooley's going to go back in with Batts and Goldsboro to the bench. Effective post players work on positioning first. It's not always about wanting the ball or looking for the ball. It's about getting that early position in the paint, letting the ball come to you. Almost force your teammates to give it to you by your early work.
You assume that you'll get the ball if you're in the right place.
That's right.
Touch foul out on the perimeter. That'll send Cotton to the free throw line as McDonald got into him.
See, he's not given enough credit for how effective he is off the bounce. I mean, we know Bryce Cotton is a terrific scorer. We know him as an unbelievable catch and shoot guy, but just a simple high pick and roll right there. You see how tough it is to guard him off the dribble going towards his strong side.
What's the best way to play him off a high ball screen? You switch?
You either have to switch or you have to show so much help to where if you're going to give up anything, it might be the roll guy or the throwback, because he can shoot off the bounce. He could step you from behind, and we've already seen him tonight. He's able to turn the corner. So he's got the whole package. I think you got to make somebody else beat you.
Cotton in double figures again today. Rebound for Henton. Testing the brake pads there, and a foul away from the ball. He squealed the brakes. Vin.
Hit him sharp. Stopped short, and see Oliver Purnell, a frustrated head coach there. Down 23, and still a few more minutes left in this first half. You want to go in with some energy, some momentum at the halftime break. We've seen this team put a run together so far the first half here.
Front end no good for Batts. DePaul without Cleveland Melvin, who's no longer enrolled in school. 16.5 points a game, one of the top 10 scorers in program history. Brandon Young, nice little cut down the lane line. Marchuch there to follow it again. Boy, he's really improved throughout the year, his only year with DePaul.
He has, and he's been the bright spot for Purnell's team here in the first half. It was good moving without the ball by Young, though, on that back cut.
10 points for Sandy Marchuch of the 23 for the Blue Demons. Harris finds his seam and lost the ball. Marchuch there again.
Good job by the officials. Harris trying to draw it. Hands are straight up.
Harris got a piece of the ball and also picks up the foul. So Tyler Harris called for his first. Foul trouble is something that came up In that last game against Georgetown, Harris fouled out. Hinton and Batts each had 4 in the game. And Ed Cooley, that's the one thing he can't afford with his team.
No, and you know what? And that's part of that equation, is that production, that secondary help to Bryce Hunt. As Ed Cooley says, it's not just about scoring. It's about staying on the floor, playing effective defense without fouling. That's what makes Cotton so effective. It's like how many minutes he can play.
Well, he hasn't missed a minute since January 5th. So
that's just remarkable when you think about it.
Cotton lost it on the dunk in, and Providence will hang on. If you're DePaul, you're down 21. You got $1:40 to go. Are you saying let's get it to 15 at the half? Are you saying let's get it to 10 at the half? Are you hoping? I mean, what are you thinking on that sideline?
Yeah,
segment it?
I think you almost have to take it as don't think about it. You've got to just come out, play every single second hard, try to get a deflection, maybe get a defensive turnover that leads into 2 points. Something I always felt, do something to get your bench up clapping. Whether it's dive for a loose ball, convert on a bucket. They got to take it one possession at a time right now.
Cotton long jumper for 2. When you coached here at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, you had your own way of firing up your team, right? You got yourself onto the court.
Hey, when you're an assistant, you got to be aggressive any way you could do it.
16 of 25, 64% for the Friars in the first half.
See, now that's been a factor to why Providence has been so effective there. You see, Billy Garrett cannot turn the corner, but look at this. You know, the entire defensive scouting report was to shut down Cotton. Good screen by DeRozier, good play drawn up by Ed Cooley, but look at how quick he gets that shot off.
Is there a deficiency in his game right now? I mean, what is it if it's there?
I mean, if you're going to nitpick, maybe size, strength, but here's my theory on that. That's what scouts and fans were saying about Stephen Curry a few years ago. Oh, he's too small, can't do what he did at Davidson at the next level. And look at how he's turned out. I think speed and quickness. Look at the speed and quickness on the release. This can make up for a lot in college basketball.
So Brandon Young, after the make, completes the three-point play. Terrell McDonald back in, the sophomore for Billy Garrett, who did not play in the first meeting with an illness, had flu-like symptoms, as they say. And they do officially give Cotton a 3 for that long jumper. So now Providence leads by 21.
There's a trap.
Hinton worked it nicely to Batts.
Ooh, they called a carry.
Mike Nance.
Ed Cooley furious on the sidelines.
Ed Cooley's looking for somebody to confirm that he should be as surprised as he is.
See, I don't think that's a carry because he's talking about him turning it over. Bryce Cotton getting into this action. You have to go a little bit farther. Do you gain advantage from turning the ball over? I don't think he gains any advantage by that. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, he did take the one step, though, while the ball was on his palm. Forrest Robinson misfires on the 3. Follow, no, and a foul.
Yeah, sometimes it can look like a carry. You cupping it under. But the advantage is, did he move forward? Now, when Bryce Cotton cups this ball over, if he runs by the DePaul player, if cupping it right there and swinging it back, first off, he doesn't even cup it. It's just a side dribble, but did it help him get from point A to point B? Well, then it's a carry. He's 35 feet from the basket, initiating the offense. I think that's why Cooley was so surprised.
And point B was sideways, essentially, rather than forward. He's talking it over with Mike Nance.
Maybe they're making lunch plans.
Doubt it. Gonna have to be close to the arena. There's some snow in the forecast.
It's been a snowy winter.
Oh. Shoveling every couple of days up here in the Northeast, they feel like.
Well, you're used to that. You're a Syracuse guy.
You're not far. McKinney. Too short. 0 for 2. Timeout Providence. Final possession of a strong first half for Ed Cooley's team.
He's going with his use it or lose it timeout. He hasn't needed to really worry about timeouts this first half so far. And I think this is when Ed Cooley loves to get the clipboard out, try maybe something new, get a shot for somebody, see if they can execute what they've worked on in practice.
So Providence leading by 21. This is a Providence team that we talked about the lack of depth. Chris Dunn has the injury. Ed Cooley loses a couple of freshmen earlier on in the season. And he feels like if he's got his full complement, this is one of the most dangerous teams in the Big East.
Hey, he talks all the time. He would have loved to coach the freshman. Chris Dunn was a McDonald's All-American 2 years ago coming out of the state of Connecticut. They beat out the likes of UConn and Louisville to sign him. He's had back-to-back frustrating years with the shoulder injury, but you win in college basketball with veterans, and Ed Cooley's done a tremendous job growing up with this team. Took over when Bryce Cotton was a sophomore and really making these juniors and seniors go to the next level.
But he knows the area as well as anybody. He's from here. He can recruit kids that are local to Providence as well. And the passion he shows. I mean, he was in a shirt and tie about 2 hours for this game, taking his team through a walkthrough, and it might as well have been 5 hours for the game.
That's right. It's not often you see that.
Fortune wanted it and gave it up. He's fouled. Too close. McDonald out on the perimeter. Coming up at halftime, we'll preview Xavier and Marquette just about to tip off. Villanova and Creighton coming up tomorrow as well. The top two teams in the Big East, and first half highlights and stats from here at the Dunkin' Donuts Center as Providence tries to collect its first win in 4 tries. Tough 3-game losing streak. The schedule more favorable early on. But a chance here with 2 in a row at home and then a road game at Butler to compile a nice winning streak. And Villanova coming up next. It would be a strong finish.
Oh, it would be big time. And this dunk will be rocking for that one, you could guarantee.
Fortune, the sophomore from Kecoughtan High School in the Hampton Roads area. Casey Woodring, a freshman from Connecticut who's played 8 minutes all year, and for the first time since January 5th, Bryce Cotton is out of a Providence game.
I think he deserves a few seconds off. What do you think?
He's earned it. Forrest Robinson with 5 to go in the half. Hamilton misses on the fadeaway. And out of bounds to the Friars with 2.2 in the first.
Good defensive box out by Woodring right there. And you see what Ed Cooley wanted to do, not let Bryce Cotton pick up a foul, but still have him here for a last-second bucket.
You were right. A couple of seconds is all he got. About 20 seconds on the bench. You think he's rested now? He's ready to go?
Listen, you talk to head coaches in this league, they're going to coach special situations and saving foul trouble, whether you're up 20 or down 20.
Tyler Harris just missed wide. Sensational first half for Providence and Bryce Cotton. 14 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for the senior from Tucson. The Friars try to pick up their 7th conference win, rolling in Little Rhodey. Just as we take a look at the first half stats, you can't go wrong if you're shooting 64%, Coach.
No question at all. And DePaul struggling not just in 2-point land, but in 3-point land as well. The big thing that also jumps out to you is Ed Cooley's team is defending, and the turnovers are turning into points for them.
So the Friars are trying to get to 7-6 in the conference right now. They're trying to get 17-9 overall. RPI in the mid-50s. What do you have to do to, number one, get over the hump and get in the tournament? And then how do you be successful there?
Well, when you're considered having a shot at being a bubble team and going into postseason play, and there's only 5 or 6 games left in the year, it's one at a time. And if Ed Cooley's ball club did not show up today versus DePaul, we would not even be talking about this starting tomorrow. So a good job by the Friars taking care of the first half.
So Providence has the lead right now by 23, in large part because they're getting up and down the court.
There's so much talk about Bryce Cotton, but this first 20 minutes, it's been so much transition for Ed Cooley's ball club, and he was getting it out of all of his guards. Early it was Josh Fortune, and then the guards were getting in on the defensive rebounding, and Bryce Cotton keeping it by himself and showing why he's one of the most dynamic, all-around offensive players in the country, and then the chemistry was there. Henton running hard, Cotton rewarded the big fella, and when you have transition breaks looking like this, that's when you truly know you're clicking on all cylinders in a conference game.
Friars average about 71 points a game. They might be rapping on the door of 100 in this one, leading DePaul by 23 at home. Providence leads by 23, second half just about underway at the Dunkin' Donuts Center. One of 3 remaining home games for the Friars. This is Alumni Weekend in Rhode Island. Providence ball to start this second half. Cotton had 15 in the first, and they helped on him with Marchuch. Bats couldn't get the roll, and here's DePaul's first look.
Maybe a foot or 2 out of his range, but he could knock that down.
There's Brandon Young, who has 10 now, the senior from Baltimore, and he's been playing significant minutes as well, 30 or more in all but 2 games in league play.
I'll tell you what, you want to talk about making a statement and with coming out and playing hard, DePaul there, that was probably their most aggressive defensive sequence of the afternoon.
And there's DeJuan Marrero, a freshman, getting the start. So Oliver Purnell, to get that energy, juggling the lineup here in the second half.
Well, let's see if they can get some offensive production now here out of their half-court stuff.
Had some success with Marchuch on the glass in the first half. Screen and roll to Marchuch, and he scores.
Hey, Marchuch has been effective today. The first part of the first half, we saw it on early post-ups. Now we're seeing him be a factor off the wing pick and roll. Terrific job on the roll part, but then catching, handling, and getting that footwork down at the end.
Had a foot injury back at Purdue. Hobbled him a little bit when he was out at West Lafayette in his graduate school year with DePaul, a native of Croatia. Oliver Purnell showing the wear of a long season for the Blue Demons. 2-10 in the Big East. They won 2 in a row after losing their first 3 and haven't won since. Out in the drop off, and wow, the hammer from Bats.
Oh! We talked about transition with the Friars. This time it was out of the press offense, and that is an official facial, folks. Wow.
Look out below. If only John Schuster was that successful at the hammer, the U.S. curling team might have had more success in the tournament.
Touche.
You're a big curling guy, right?
Curling off down screens like right here. I don't know about.
McDonald buries the 3, his first triple of the game.
That little curl worked for DePaul.
So now back in the hands of Bryce Cotton, the senior from Tucson. Trying to force him to his left. 10 to shoot for Cotton with McDonald, the sophomore. Bats the screen. Cotton, a step back. Brandon Young decides to go 1-on-3, and he will head to the free throw line.
This was outstanding press offense that we saw. See the flash middle and then the cut behind. When you're able to get a guy catching in the middle of the floor and he's able to slip it back to those guards running hard up the sidelines, you're going to have the numbers. Now it's just about finishing at the end. We saw the big-time dunk from Bats, but it started early with that spacing out of the press offense.
When you talk about spacing, ideally you'd like to have one on each sideline and then somebody down the middle?
Absolutely, because now after you get that middle catch, you have a chance for a 3-on-1 with options on both sides at the end.
So Charles McKinney come out of the ball game. Second chance for Young, who followed his own miss at the line.
When you give up offensive rebounds at the free throw line, first off, who will drive any head coach crazy as you see Ed Cooley there on the sidelines, but the advantage is going to be to the offensive rebounder.
Well, Cooley might have to get Josh Fortune out of the game. He's got 3 fouls now. And here comes Carson DeRozier.
It's just not bringing it down. Yes, the bounce, it caromed off just a little bit, but you got to turn around and hit a body.
Rather than launch yourself at the ball?
Just come into the paint and go up and try to grab it. One of those little finer aspects guys are always coaching the kids on.
That's a long jumper for 2, and that's a part of his game that's really grown.
Yeah, he's effective. 15, 17 foot. Foul line, high post area.
Garrett had it shoved back at his face. Young tried to attack, and maybe a little solo stuff there.
I think he felt they weren't getting anything out of the offense, getting a little stagnant for DePaul. He tried to make it happen with a little baseline penetration.
Is that maybe a result of Cleveland Melvin being no longer enrolled in school? Some guys are going to take it upon themselves to do one-on-one work?
Yeah, and it's not always in a selfish way. I just think there's more pressure that guys have individually to have to try to make a play, especially late in the shot clock.
Cotton hasn't touched it yet. Tyler Harris off the mark. DeRozier got a hand on it. Cotton, feet set. And Marchuch down to the deck. Crowd thought he was out of bounds and deflected out to the Blue Demons.
Great hustle by both ball clubs. Bodies flying everywhere. Thought Marchuch was going to come up with that one. Wide open miss for Cotton. Something you don't feel often. The big fella fighting and clawing while he was falling down. Thought that was close to him being out of bounds, but the bounce pass at the end works for plays like that.
Well, Sandy Marchuch has played a very effective game. 12 points, 4 rebounds for DePaul. DeRozier on the overplay, called for the foul by Mike Nance. Second on DeRozier. Could that be the big trouble for Providence going down the stretch here? 6 games left. If there's heavy foul trouble, where do you go for Ed Cooley?
That's right. I think you got to just keep getting those guards to play big minutes like they're playing. But have your post guys be effective. See, just like that. Show hard and aggressive off pick and rolls. Get back without fouling.
DeRozier did it twice there. Henton over the shoulder of Hamilton, and some help from Harris as well. Cotton very smartly stalls the offense. Nice recovery for the block on Cotton. What a play by Edwin McGee, the senior from Champaign.
McGee playing hard there, coming in from the backside. After those head and shoulder fakes, Cotton known as a guy that has a quick release. That was impressive.
from DeRozier for Cotton. Harris off the curl. Lifted out. The follow goes for Carson DeRozier. Just about 90 minutes to the north in New Hampshire.
See, it's always been Bats' MO, but Ed Cooley's really been in the ears of these other post guys, DeRozier being one of them. Take advantage of the offensive boards.
There's foul number 6 of the half for the Friars.
It's been fast break city for the Friars today. How about that one by Mr. Bats?
Excitement growing in the Ocean State. Providence trying to get to the NCAA tournament, up 21 on DePaul. You know, it's been 10 years since your old boss was here. Took him to the tournament 2004. That loss to Pacific in the NCAA since Providence has been to the big dance. This looks like it might be a tournament team if they finish strong.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the two locks for this league right now are obviously Villanova and Creighton. They've been in the national rankings throughout, and then that third and maybe fourth spot has been interesting because we've seen Providence in third by themselves. We've seen Chris Mack, Xavier Musketeers be terrific this year. St. John's is on the upswing. Who's going to emerge? Georgetown looked like they were struggling, and then Thompson's team got their feet under them. I think the final week of the season and then heading into what's going to be a very, very exciting conference tournament at the Garden.
Well, it's so what have you done for me lately?
That's
Lose
right.
4 or 5, but you have 6 down the stretch. So people forget about that if you win 4 or 5 of these 6.
And every team has had a brutal stretch. 3 or 4 on the road, 4 or 5 on the road. You know, it's easy to win the home ones. How you do away from your building, you can see those top teams. That's what separates seedings.
DePaul laying on the pressure, and we'll see if the timeout was granted for Edwin McGee.
That you gotta love.
McGee wanted the timeout. Instead, they're going to call it a tie-up. John Gaffney and Pat Driscoll came together. It's a tie-up. Yeah, look, McGee wants the timeout here. He's calling for the timeout, but they signal that he didn't have possession on his own, and so the tie-up gets called. Providence will get the next jump ball. Offensive foul that time on Young.
Hey, you know what's tough about those replays is we see it very easily right there, but you never see what angle the refs are seeing it as, or when they're hearing it, or when they're...
Well, and that looked like the right call, though. It looked like the Providence player also had at least some possession. You don't think?
Had an arm in there.
Is that enough for you?
I don't know. I don't know. That was a tough. This is what I do know. I love that you have a 19-point ball game and bodies are still flying everywhere on the deck for loose balls.
DePaul laying on the pressure. Jamie Crockett was in there.
Oh, now this is a better angle of the officials. See Pat Driscoll and Gaffney right there. So Gaffney obviously not feeling that Bats had enough in there. Looked like he had Bats' arms tied up with his 2 arms around the ball.
First man on the scene. Made the tie-up call. So Providence leading by 19 with the ball. Cotton jumps into a long triple. Wow. That quick release again on display.
Long 2. They called it toes on the line. So Gaffney go over to the table after Driscoll signaled it.
Ooh. And the block by Bats. So one official signaled 3. Gaffney calls it a 2. It's officially a 2-point goal.
That was the right call.
Good position for Bats, working down low. And here comes Young on the pitch ahead for Garrett. Crockett slicing through. And Young the follow for 2 more.
Good hustle. Young has a high motor. Keeps coming at you.
Leading remaining scorer for this team. 10th in the Big East, 15 points a game. Well, you saw earlier, DePaul's leading the offensive rebounds and also up in the second chance points. Very rare you see a team do that and trail by big numbers. Cotton again right down the boulevard. 20 for Bryce Cotton.
And see, that looked very easy for Cotton's part, but the spacing that time by his teammates allowed for that open driving range.
Jumper for Hamilton, his first point. Harris got his man in midair, and Batts is right there to clean it up.
DePaul's doing a good job picking up in the full court, but then you got to keep playing guys after they break the mid-court area. Here's the throwback. They called it a long 2, toes on the line. Great job by Cotton, what he does best. And then how about the defensive presence of Batts at the other end? And then we talked earlier about him turning the corner and the seal by Batts, taking away the help side defender.
What makes a good seal?
You got to act like you're posting up. Keep that guy on your back. It's almost a legal, illegal screen per se. It's not a moving screen. You're not trying to check out like hockey, but you got to post him up, get low, keep that guy on his back. And Cotton has shown he can finish even when being contested in the paint.
Lead was 23 at the half. Providence up 22 now. McDonald off the Sekile screen, and 1 and done for the Blue Demons. Cotton scanning ahead. Fortune too strong. And out of bounds to DePaul. Here comes Harris back into the game, the sophomore from Suffolk County. Henton out.
Ed Cooley's going to go little 2-3 zone action here in the half court. We saw possessions of this in the first 20 minutes.
Young got hooked on the way in by Cotton, his second personal foul.
Not enough teams do that, ball screening the zone. So many times you almost feel like you got to go back to the old school days of just go 3 out, 2 in, passing it around. And that's why so many college coaches go with zone these days, is because it makes teams passive. I love it when coaches go with man-to-man offense principles. Ball screen it, cross screen it, post up.
Why do you think some teams don't do that?
Just think zone offense has always been 3 out, 2 in, flash at the high post, worry about gaps and areas. Yes, you want to worry about gaps and areas, but so many guys coach defensively with man-to-man principles out of their zone. See, Louisville, Patino has got one of the best 2-3 zones in the country. They play you man-to-man when they're in your area.
It almost becomes a matchup in that way.
That's right. You know, you're a Syracuse guy. Not everybody could have the length of Boeheim.
Him personally?
No, those 5 orange trees he has out on the floor.
He got pretty long when he was celebrating that win Wednesday night in Pittsburgh.
High stepping too.
Huh. Entry feed to Harris. Strong work by Tyler Harris, the NC State transfer.
So that's the versatility factor that Cooley loves. Is we've seen him tonight in the half court with his perimeter touch. We've seen him on the fast break, and then now we're seeing him with his back to the basket working it.
Here's Billy Garrett again, still recovering from an illness that kept him out for a couple of ball games, trying to find his groove again. He has 6 in today's game. Cotton gets away from McDonald. DeRozier right there for the rebound. The footwork so impressive for Cotton. Fortune off the bounce. Left it well short.
Cooley wanted a foul.
Forrest Robinson, the trailer 3. And Sonny Marchuch again on the offensive glass for DePaul. How about Tyler Harrisman?
One of the most versatile guys in the league. We've seen him dynamic on the break tonight, but showing, you know what? I'm 6'9" too. I can take smaller guys down low on the block. Good showing here at the dunk this afternoon.
Providence by 22 over DePaul, and well, the Friars, if they hold on and they get this win, they go to 7-6. And they try to break themselves away from that pack with St. John's and Georgetown in the middle of the Big East. And the hope for the Friars is they go into the tournament and maybe the Big East sees a couple of other teams make a strong run to the finish line, and the conference can end up with something like 5 or 6 bids.
And for certain teams, it's going to be about what do the standings look like before you hit New York City. You know, some teams may only have to win 1 game in New York. Some may put themselves in a position to where they have to win 2. I think if you're Providence, you know, this was a must win today. And then, you know, listen, if you have Villanova at home, it's going to be a great atmosphere. You can't put yourself in a position to where you're saying at Creighton for Doug McDermott's senior day is a must win. I think you need to look at these 6 games as a whole. What do we have a possibility of finishing at before New York? And then how many can we get at the Garden?
Cotton extracts himself the coverage so well, got open, but missed the shot. Brandon Young on the dive. Box out by DeRozier. Well, Providence plays Nova next, coming up in a few days. That's Tuesday. Nova on short rest after the 1 versus 2 matchup in the conference with Creighton tomorrow. Moving down to 10 minutes in the second half. Providence trying to break a 3-game losing streak. DePaul has lost 7 straight since back-to-back league wins in January. Cotton start and stop, and he is fouled. Mentioned Villanova taking on Creighton tomorrow, and Doug McDermott has just been fantastic. The leading scorer in the conference, 15th in D1 history, 2-time first-team All-American, and the numbers he's put up for his father and doing it on big stages. They lost to number 5 San Diego State. He put up 30. They beat St. Joe's. He had the game winner. It seems like anything you want from him, he's there to provide it.
The best player in all of college basketball this season. And listen, for the work he's done this season, absolutely. Now listen, there's some dynamic players that could be big-time future pros. You talk about Jabari Parker and Wiggins. We know about the freshman phenoms. But you see the work he's done there over his career, and then the numbers he's put up these past 4 months. He's been the best player in college basketball, and be interesting to see as he moves on. He reminds me of an NBA version of Wally Szczerbiak.
Oh.
You know, you think about it. I mean, listen, I think earlier in the year, he got all that praise. He was putting up astronomical numbers. A couple head coaches said Larry Bird. Yeah. You know, I feel like Billy Donovan does with that. Don't put the pressure. Don't be talking about one of the 5 greatest guys to ever play the game with college kids right now. But, you know, hit for 6'8" to do what he does on the perimeter, and then with his back to the basket. He does not take a second off. He moves without the ball better than anyone in the country. So fun to watch.
Marchuch will go to the free throw line. He got DeRozier in midair. Maybe a little better off the bounce and maybe distributing than somebody like Wally Szczerbiak.
Yeah, you know, and he's able to face up. You know, sometimes guys will pick and pop, and then if they don't have that 3 at the top of the key, the possession's lost. Well, Doug will pick and pop. He'll catch it. He'll rip through. He'll initiate. He'll score. You know, you take away options A, B, and C, and he comes up with D.
Marchuch knocks down the free throw, and Creighton, obviously a team that's led by McDermott. They do have Ethan Robbie, who can shoot the ball a little bit, but when you talk about Creighton, it's really Doug McDermott. And Providence, Bryce Cotton's going to lead them. We've seen teams in the past not be maybe complete teams and still end up winning the title because of one player in March.
Well, you think back, and they're no longer a member of the Big East, but a couple of years ago, a few years ago, nobody had UConn going down to New York and winning the conference tournament, and Kemba Walker showed in a matter of 3 to 4 days what one guy can do when he wants to take over a college hoops game.
Sometimes people exaggerate when they say that, but in the round of 8, round of 16, Kemba Walker was the guy. I mean, he basically willed that team to the Final Four.
No question.
Henton off the dribble. That's a top three.
Henton's had some big-time shots from deep and contested makes this afternoon.
On the other end, Brandon Young continues his assault on the score column for DePaul. 14 for Young. Henton now working in the post, and Marchuch swats it away. 10 to shoot. Reese Kofani wanted the ball. He was open. Cotton loses control. Crockett the pitch ahead. And an easy bucket for the Blue Demons to get to 50. Seven now for Darrell McDonald for DePaul. Crockett all over Harris, and DePaul making Providence work now. Deep into the shot clock. That's with the right hand.
That polish he's put on that low post game each and every year. Last season's most improved player in the Big East.
Brandon Young again, and a timeout. Oliver Purnell. Young tipping on 20.
Well, he's 34% on the year from downtown, but today LaDonte Henton's been a little bit better than that, hitting contested threes now here at the dunk. That's going to be high-level basketball right there in that game. That astronomical stat of a team making 21 threes. You know, that changed how a lot of teams started to defend Creighton on the perimeter. I know it did with St. John's, and they went out to Omaha and lost at the buzzer. And you know, it's not just about meeting them and contesting their threes. You have to meet them beyond NBA range, because they have guys like Rogge, like McDermott, to where a lot like Bryce Cotton, it's tenths of a second sometimes to where they could get their three-point attempts up.
Some fantastic distributors on that team, too. As Crockett scores on the break, I mean, people forget about Chapman and Manigat as well, providing the base for guys like McDermott and Rogge to score their points.
So often it's about that mix as well, not just your top two guys, the group collectively.
Providence has seen that balanced scoring today. Cotton's gotten his over 20 points again. There's a foul call. They get inside with Kadeem Batts. So Providence en route to a 7th Big East win, 17th overall victory, hoping to sneak into the NCAA tournament. Big day here at Providence. The women's cross-country team presented with its national championship trophy, the second school title in cross-country. The national champs, led by Emily Sisson, a 3-time All-American, 3-time Big East individual champ as well. And there are the ladies who brought the title to Providence. When you come here and you win a national title, you get to sit right near the court. Yeah, a couple rows deep, actually. You think maybe they could get a little bit better of a look, maybe.
For the national champs?
Well, I guess the assumption is if they really needed to see a big play, they could run there pretty quickly and see the play.
Good work right there.
Blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Must be the Olympics. You're in form.
Crockett fakes the three. DePaul trying to make a game of it in the final 6 and change. Dante Henton gets into Billy Garrett, and Mr. Henton got a face full from Mr. Cooley.
Ed Cooley told me a few weeks ago, he said, I coach LaDante Henton harder than any other guy. I asked him why. He said, because he could take it. He could take it. A lot of guys go into their shell, and Ed Cooley's the type of guy, it doesn't matter if it's a 20, 25-point lead, under 7 minutes to go. He's going to coach every second like the Big East Championship's on the line.
Wouldn't you suggest to LaDante Henton then don't take it as well? He'll stop yelling at you? That wasn't your style as a coach. You were mild-mannered.
Can't have insubordination.
Well, Ed Cooley mentioned to us this morning attitude was so key for his team, and they really have strangled this game from pretty much the outset when they led 23-7.
Whether it was Fairfield or the last couple of years here back home in Rhode Island, getting his teams to play hard has always been a Cooley trait, even when you talk to other coaches within the league.
10 to shoot for Bats. Down to 5. Tyler Harris on Billy Garrett. Oh, the back tap from Garrett. Nicely done. Garrett alone fouled by Fortune, who has picked up his 5th.
You see right there why Billy Garrett's one of the top youngsters in this new look Big East. Active hands defensively. The son of the assistant coach, Billy Garrett. Coach's son always plays with a high basketball IQ. There's the little poke from behind, and then look at this. It looks like an NBA vet here at the end of the break, the way he uses his body to protect the basketball.
Turn the hip into the defender.
Yep.
So Fortune's fouled out, and this Providence team basically has 5 guys that Ed Cooley will want to play. Get this, the top 6 players have scored all but 6 of their points in the 2014 calendar year.
That's mileage. Oof, that's effective mileage.
You'd think at some point they might start to wear down, and some people have thought in this 3-game losing streak that could be part of it. Fortune really got hung out on the line on that defensive play, had to challenge.
Listen, sometimes you have the ability to control the fouls that you commit. Other times you cannot control the fouls. Sometimes it's just a simple equation of wrong place, wrong time, but you can tell he's frustrated.
That's part of the reason you can't have a cheap one early in the game, right?
Oh, absolutely. And you know, depth is a hot topic in college hoops. And of course, every coach that does not have a lot of depth wishes they had more depth. But I think with Dunn's injury last year, with the injuries and the issues they've had roster-wise this year, I think the core guys of this team, Jason, are so used to playing that way. As Ed Cooley says, this is the only way we know. Bryce Cotton playing every minute of the game is the only way we know. They've gotten on the bubble this way for so many points of the season. I think they're used to playing that way, and that's when they'll play their best ball down the stretch. It's just going to be a matter of those guys executing.
They have a chance to really stamp their season coming up on Tuesday with Nova coming in here. One of the top 10 teams in the country, 6th right now. Cotton, nifty footwork. Rebound for Hamilton, who missed on the other end. Young, the pull-up. Hamilton navigating through traffic. A little dipsy-do.
How about that little English in touch at the end by the big fella?
Timeout DePaul, trailing by 14 with 4.5 to go. So Providence trying to pick up win number 7 in league play. And next Sunday, the Daytona 500 returns to Fox as the world's best drivers compete in the Great American Race. Speed Week's underway, started yesterday on Fox Sports 1. Then the Daytona 500, 8 days from now, only on Fox. Vin, I know you knew this. Today, 16 years ago, Dale Earnhardt Sr. won his first Daytona 500.
You learn something new every day. So I did not know that.
Well, looks like he might have come up lame after that jump shot on the other side. Take a look on the rebound.
His lower part of the screen. Did he bang knees?
Yeah, it looked like he got into Edwin McGee.
Well, I'll tell you, we talk about his durability and how he plays every minute and goes. He's got ice bags all over the place after games. He lays it out there when he competes.
On average this year in Big East games, 41.5 minutes per game. You're saying, how can that possibly be? That's more than a game per game. But in the overtime sessions, he's always been there for Providence as DeRozier will go to the free throw line. I mean, athletes talk about giving 110%. They get made fun of. But he really is giving 110%. He's playing more than a game on average.
I remember asking him the early part of this year, he had ice bags all over the place after knees. I said, have you always had tendonitis like this? He said, ever since I started playing every single minute of every single game last year. It's become an issue sometimes.
But you're right, he is used to it. The team's used to it.
And I think that's how you know that you have a veteran-laden ball club when guys are able to play 38, 39, 40 minutes, aggressively defend, because multiple head coaches this year in the Big East have stated that Providence is better defensively in the half court this year. You're able to play that type of D and stay out of foul trouble at the same time. How you know you have a good amount of juniors and seniors out there.
Ed Cooley, after this year, will lose Batts and Cotton from his top six, both seniors. Henton, a junior, along with DeRozier, 1 season left. And out of bounds it goes. Young trying to do a little too much. The senior from Baltimore for Oliver Purnell. Providence and Ed Cooley hoping to build a tournament resume at home down the stretch.
Point hits him on the chest, and it's that player-coach relationship today, and over the course of his career the last couple of years that have led to this. And how about the second half Batts has had? It's been dynamic on both ends of the floor, shown that great jump hook he's got down pat over his left shoulder that he's really worked on and proven. And you know, recently Batts was quoted, see, it's been a tale of two halves, and something I haven't forgotten. He said, I love the way Ed Cooley coaches us, me in particular, because he'll get on you really hard, but he always ends it in a way to where he knows he cares about you. And you see that little tap on the chest, that little nudge, that little eye contact, so important right now in this day and age of college basketball with player-coach relationships.
As if to say, that's what I was telling you about earlier.
That's right.
It'll work out for you if you do what I said. Providence shot 64% in the first half, still leading by double figures. Aiming for win number 7 in Big East play. Harris, that'll drop off, and DeRozier had it pinned, but a foul. Strong effort by Sekile down there, but he got part of the body.
These guys constantly talk about their player-coach relationship with Cooley. See that little boom tap to the chest there. He said, you know, one moment he could be going crazy on us in the locker room, and then 2 hours later he feels like he's almost like our big brother.
He's got that demeanor. I mean, you can see the way he brings in these kids. And I mean, last year, outsiders' perspective, people said they have no business going to the postseason in terms of the depth and in terms of maybe the ability they had at the end of the year. They made a run in the NIT. This year, from the outside, pick middle of the pack, lower in the Big East.
And then the injuries.
Yep. Injuries, lose a couple players. And they're still within clear striking distance of a 20-win season and an NCAA tournament berth.
No question.
Brandon Young trying to pick his way through, and just too many arms there.
Now Ed Cooley's going to take a timeout. He's heading back in, but he's going to keep coaching. He's going to keep preaching patience. Use the shot clock right now. You're up 18 with 3:15.
And Bryce Cotton is really the leader of this team, obviously scoring-wise. He'll put up the 20-point game, 21 today. 37% of his games in college have been 20 points or more overall for a kid that really wasn't that heavily recruited.
You look at the second half that he's put on today. Last year, he was the Big East scoring champ. And this year, he's been known for his assists as the facilitator, using high pick and roll, still being the top scoring option for the Friars when he's off the ball. But everything good that happens for Cooley's ball club is when Cotton seems to have the ball in his hands.
He leads the Big East in assists per game. He's got 6 today. You hear so many players say, well, I'm a scorer. You put me at the point guard, you take away my scoring mentality. He does both maybe as well as anybody in the country, don't you think?
Absolutely. And you mentioned not getting recruited that high. He's out there in Arizona. He's not in a hotbed recruiting area like the New York metropolitan area or Baltimore, D.C., or the prep school scene of New England. And he comes here in his freshman and sophomore year is basically known as a catch-and-shoot role player and a very, very above-average shooter. And then the way his game has evolved the last couple of years to be elite scorer, and now this year having to be a scoring point guard.
Henson gets the roll on the first, and now he's in the conversation as one of the top 30 players in the country.
And when you get to that point, and you're being mentioned among the nation's elite, as you said earlier, anybody that has one of those guys on their team has an opportunity, has a chance to make late postseason noise.
He leads the country in minutes played. I mean, 39.5 minutes per game all year. Jamie Crockett snaps off the three for the board for Bats. What do you think? Long run. Do you think this Providence team makes the tournament?
They have as good a shot as anybody in the league. I just think it's going to come down to what do they do in New York and how many do they need to win when that time comes.
Jamie Crockett had it blocked away. Harris.
But the nature of college basketball is survive and advance. And that's just not for March Madness. That's when you get to mid-February and beyond. You have to take one game at a time.
How about Tyler Harris cleanly going after it?
That is a pin up against the glass. Indeed.
DeRozier called for his 4th foul, so Fortune has fouled out. Henton has 4, DeRozier has 4, but Tyler Harris and the rest of the field today has provided some balance, as we talked about in the open, for Bryce Cotton. 12 points for DeRozier, 13 for Henton, 15 for Bats, 10 for Fortune, 5 in double figures for the Friars. They lead by 19.
This DePaul team has played hard today. Oliver Purnell's program in a difficult situation. They've had to adjust on the fly to life without Cleveland Melvin. There's some youngsters out there. Ed Cooley said before the game, though, one day at a time. If we do not win today, can't even have future conversations about postseason play. The Friars obviously took care of business at home.
Harris got mugged going up. Tommy Hamilton got into him. And for the Friars, 6 games remaining, including today, and some chances there. I mean, Villanova and Creighton are tough on your schedule, but if you pick up 1 or 2 of those, then you really lay yourself into the conversation. Right now, most people looking at this say they're right on the fence as a possible tournament team.
That's right. And listen, the city of Providence will be buzzing about that Villanova game at home. Then right after that, you have to play at Butler, and that has not been an easy place, regardless of conference record, for teams to go in and play at this year.
Kyle Marshall's had some big games in conference play for Butler. Thought maybe the Bulldogs would be better this year. They had a strong non-conference. and never really found their footing in their first season in the Big East. 6 Providence players now in double figures tonight.
Dave Butler has some strong freshmen and sophomores, though.
Down to a minute and a half to go. Providence put up 49 in the first half, and that has buoyed the Friars to a 21-point lead. McDonald put it right into the rim, and he will go to the free throw line. Sophomore from Vegas is Green Valley High School, Darrell McDonald.
And look, we were talking a lot about Bryce Cotton recently, but when you have 6 guys in double figures, and guys got it done at different times. We saw the start of Josh Fortune, then DeRoser played effective. Henton was terrific on the perimeter. That's what you want to see out of your ball club when the home stretch is approaching.
First time for Providence with 6 players in double figures since December 9th of 2009. That's the type of historic balance Ed Cooley needs to get this team into the tournament. Wouldn't you say? Needs rather than wants.
Absolutely. We talked about one player, your top guy being so important to the equation, but this all cannot fall on Bryce Cotton's shoulders. That was the theme that Ed Cooley has been talking to his group about since that game, that last loss at Georgetown. 31 for Cotton, and the rest of the team coming up empty.
They led that game at the half, couldn't hang on. Georgetown won by 12. Casey Woodring is in, freshman. DeRozier trying to feed it into Bancroft, and Providence will hang on with 13 to shoot. So Nova coming up, then those 2 road games, and bookends of Villanova and Creighton before that Big East tournament, which starts on Wednesday, March the 12th. You can catch all of it on Fox. And this is how few minutes off Bryce Cotton gets. Providence is up 81-61, and there he is slicing to the basket.
I was about to say, because Ed Cooley's going to get other guys minutes. He's going to rest some of his guys, but he is not completely satisfied. He does not have a clear head unless Bryce Cotton is handling for him. That's who he's most comfortable with when his team's on offense.
Kofani will check in for the final 45 seconds, maybe for Cotton with a make.
To Cooley's defense, there is not a backup point guard, but that's a day's work for Cotton, and Ed Cooley with 45 seconds has finally said that's enough.
Some people say give me a minute, they mean 5. With Bryce Cotton, he just needs 1. And a foul call on Bancroft on the drive from McDonald. Bryce Cotton again, over 20 points today, 22 and 6 assists. Just your average day for Mr. Cotton from Palo Verde High School in Tucson.
He continues that unbelievable month of February, and he is a cool, calm and collected character, isn't he? Never seems like he's breaking a sweat, never seems like he's breathing heavy. Just takes it all in stride.
If not for Doug McDermott, Bryce Cotton would be the leading scorer in the Big East. 2 guys that have averaged over 20 basically all season long, leading their teams. Friars will get Creighton on the road in Omaha, and Doug McDermott's senior night should be a great matchup in that one as Brees Kofani, the junior from Cameroon, scores his first bucket. Providence entered with a 3-game losing streak in the Big East, and the Friars today, using balanced scoring, come up with a win, 84-61 over the DePaul Blue Demons.
If you want to get to the top 3 to 4 teams in the Big East and get back onto that bubble after the losing streak, Ed Cooley said step number 1, before we even talk about anything else, taking care of business at home today, and the Friars did just that.
They have their 17th win of the season. They're 7-6 in the Big East. DePaul drops to 2-11 in the loop. For our entire crew, for Vin Parisi, Jason Benetti saying good day from Providence. The Friars get an effort from the entire team for their 17th win of the year.